Howdy everybody, we're back with some RPG horror stories. Let's jump right into it. Our first story is going to be from Tactical Pixie 1138 and is titled Party is Unhappy that the game that they asked me to run is too different from what they're used to in D&D and dipped 15 minutes into the session. I run various games for my group at the local game store. I run D&D for when we want high fantasy and GURPS or generic universal role-playing system, which is a system originally created in the 80s and I think it was last updated in like 2004 for when we want to play in other genres. I was running a BPRD, that's Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense. If you're a Hellboy fan or have seen the Hellboy movies, that belongs in that universe. Themed campaign, the group that employs Hellboy in GURPS, and we had just finished the night session when someone approached me. It was one of the other tables nearby, and they had been watching after their game wrapped up. One of the folks at the table asked if I could maybe run a one-shot at the next Try a New Game night at the store. I asked if they minded pre-generated characters, to which they said, no problem, not for a one-shot anyway. I also sent one of them the link to GURPS Lite 32-page free PDF so they could all look at the basic rules of the system. Really nice of OP to agree to run a one-shot for random people, and cool of people being willing to try a new system. Also very good of OP for supplying rules ahead of time and, you know, in a nice, like 32 pages I feel like for rules is a pretty digestible format, especially considering like the 5e Player's Handbook, which I mean obviously includes more than just rules. It's like a couple hundred pages. So a couple of weeks pass and I dig out one of my one shots and make some characters. The night of the game, this past Monday night, is when things got weird. I asked before we started if anyone had any questions, concerns, or things that they didn't understand. They all said that they were good and we started. Turns out no one had bothered to read the GURPS Lite booklet and it was a mess. First problem is that GURPS uses a skill or less roll to succeed greater than skill to fail using a 3d6. So when you have a skill at 12, you have a 74% chance of rolling a success. But the first player to make a skill check was mad when he rolled and said, hell yeah, 14. And I had to correct them and say that they had actually failed the roll and explain that in GURPS, low numbers are good. High numbers for anything other than damage is bad. Now, mind you that his skill roll was for picking a lock in a door in the garage and that he could try again since all it wasted was time. But even though he rolled a 9 on his next try and succeeded, he was still mad about it and kept mumbling under his breath about it. Wow, I'm glad these new players read the rules or even glanced at them. Also glad that they are open to new ideas and are okay with being corrected. Can't tell that's sarcasm. If you're going to play a new system, maybe try to learn some of the rules ahead of time. And if you aren't going to learn all the rules ahead of time, which nobody's going to on their first try, don't be mad when the GM corrects you. Roll with it. They're not doing it to punish you. They're telling it so you learn the system. The next problem was when someone on another skill check rolled a 4. Unlike D&D, GURPS has as their raw crit successes and failures on checks. They kind of have to, since everything in GURPS is a skill check. You want to hit someone with a sword? Roll against your broadsword skill. Want to shoot someone with a pistol? Roll against guns pistol skill. There is no difference between making an attack roll and making a skill check. So they have crits built in for all of them. 3 or 4 or any rolls that's 10 or more below your skill, so like 5 for 15, 6 for 16, etc., is a crit success. A 17 or 18 or any roll 10 or more higher than your skill, 16 for a 6, etc., is a crit fail. The player that rolled a 3 on electronics check to bypass the alarm in the garage door, he rolled a crit success and I said that not only did he bypass the alarm, but also managed to deactivate the security on the building itself, leaving the party free to do a quick ransack before stealing back their car. I think that's a really interesting use of skills in this game for everything. I bet it makes things a lot easier as you're rolling against your own sheet and not like you're comparing stuff from your sheet and then looking at an enemy stat block. Also cool of them to flavor this crit success in this way. I think that really you're giving a nice bone to your players basically for succeeding in a really awesome way. The player started going on about how skill checks don't have crits per rules as written, and I said that he's right, that they don't in D&D, but that rules as written GURPS does. It's there on page 2 and 3 of the GURPS Lite book and showed them on the paper copy I brought with me. Players said that this was nothing like D&D, it was too complicated and they were leaving. I asked, too difficult, the rules I'm using are this little pamphlet. That's when people said that they hadn't really bothered to read it. Only 2 of them had even looked for it, no one downloaded it, and they as a table decided to just leave saying that this wasn't for them. I just packed up and went home. If you have not read the rules, why the fuck are you arguing with the GM? Again, if you're going to try a new system, at least have some idea of what you're getting into. At least be willing to roll with the punches when things don't match up to your expectations. It's also fucking rude of them to just ditch OP because it was, I assume they thought it was 5e and it wasn't. Though, I guess they kind of did save OP some time of not having to run a table for a bunch of assholes. You should always be willing to try new systems. You might find something you will like. And if you don't, hey, you ran a one shot and you didn't enjoy the system. Now you know. I love 5th edition. I think it's a great system. It's not perfect, but it's great. I think its popularity though, and the plethora of add-on books for it has left this super casual crowd in place where if there is anything even remotely outside of 5e for them, it's scary and changes super bad. And I kind of get it. Playing a system you know is comforting because you don't have to worry about the rules because you know them and can just focus on playing your character. But also, you joined a one-shot that was clearly a separate system. What sucks here is if these people were willing to try even just a little bit, they might find some awesome systems out there. Because if I did the same shit, if I closed myself off to everything that isn't 5e, I wouldn't have played Lancer, or Cyberpunk, or Daggerheart, or the Star Wars Fantasy Flight game system, just to name a couple. It's okay to not like every system you try. I certainly have not. But be willing to try and be fucking polite when somebody takes the time to set up a fucking one-shot for you and try to show you the system. Take some effort to learn it before you meet, either by being open to being corrected or reading the fucking rules a little ahead of time. Overall, these players suck. They're treating it like, I don't know, they're treating like free samples at Costco or some bullshit. Just walking away fucking offended when it's not to their taste. When it's like, you know, there's like a fucking human being on the other side of the table who set this whole thing up for you and you guys are like assholes. Like acting like this outside of just not like just being dicks in this instance. I personally, if I played at this store, I would mention to other people that these people were assholes and just left a game 15 minutes in because it wasn't like 5e and they were fucking rude. I'm not saying you have to go get them banned from the store, but if you act like an asshole like this to enough people, word's gonna get around, and if it's found out that you're one of those people, you might not be invited to play at the tables. It's like, oh, well, you know, John is a little shit, and John gets pissy when a game isn't exactly how he likes it, and he leaves 15 minutes in, and John also doesn't take the time to read the rules to learn the system he's playing, so maybe I don't want to play with John, because John sounds like he's a lot. Our last story for today is going to be from Hole Punch Hole Tokens and is titled The Worst Indie Game I Have Ever Been In. First time poster, long time reader. This story was half a decade ago, so I'm hoping that it was a long enough period of time that no one would recognize it. However, there is a very specific part that might ring some bells since this game was streamed on Twitch. My DM was trying to get into streaming. They streamed video games and had a small following. I don't know numbers, I only remember that the majority of them were in the UK. Anyway, my DM had polled their followers about what game they wanted them to stream next and they voted for D&D. DM asked me, my sister, my friend, and DM's friend if we would be interested in a one-shot. It would be 8 hours long. There would be no cameras on us, all we had to do was be in a Discord call with them. They would share their screen, we would only be known as our PCs. We agreed since this wasn't the first time we had all played together before, though this was DM's friend's second game ever. Okay, an 8-hour one-shot is wild to me, especially for newer players. Streaming games is also a weird thing for me. Now, I have before, many moons ago, I did stream a D&D campaign. It did not last very long. I might talk about it someday, but I don't think I would do it again. I think it's a little weird to ask like non-streamers to participate in it because part of TTRPGs is the roleplay, which is basically acting. It is acting. And if non-streamers have to do that in front of an audience, they may not enjoy it because what they might consider to be like a more private, special, like closed off interaction is now out there for anyone to see and to be judged. by people they don't know and probably don't want to be judged by. And if you're gonna do something like this, where you're gonna stream your game, I mean, do it. It's awesome to see all the live play content out there, but definitely get everyone's permission before you fucking stream a game, be it privately or to others more broadly on something like Twitch or YouTube. I don't remember what classes everyone was playing. It doesn't matter to the story at all. So day comes around and we are all on the call at a very early time, since this was an 8-hour one-shot and the viewers were not in Canada. It was a pretty standard quest, I guess. All I remember was there were cultists at the end and we fought them in a hurry because we were running long. And the reason we were running long? Reason 1. DM's friend insisted on looting goblins for their arrows, and I mean taking the fletching and heads off the arrows to salvage so he could sell them when we got to a town. I can't remember how many goblins there were. All I remember was thinking, why is DM letting this go on for so long? We were level 5, we had money and magic. I know that DM's friend was new to D&D and were obviously working on video game logic, but DM, they and I have been playing together for 3 years at this point. Season 2, DM's friend spent 2 IRL hours going back and forth with DM as the shopkeep to sell the goblin arrowheads and fletching, to only then give away a 200 gold piece magic sword. And that's when I died a little inside. What do you mean you need to haggle for every copper piece that could possibly be given for goblin arrow parts and then give away a 200 gold piece magic sword? We were playing a one-shot, it doesn't matter. My friend was also somewhat a part of this and unfortunately helped drag this on. Okay, this sounds like a situation where the DM was not curating time well. It's one thing to allow your players to get a feel for the world and experience and kind of get in it. It's another to let a player argue with a shopkeeper for 2 hours about junk, crap, bullshit. As a DM, cut things short if you need to, especially for one-shots. Be meta about it and speak above table. Or, if you don't want to, make a reason in game. It doesn't really matter, but DMs need to help keep the game going. At a certain point, things need to be nipped in the bud. Now, this skill comes with time, so if this was a relatively newer DM, I totally understand, because you, as a DM, sometimes you want to let your players talk and ramble and get into the world, and you're like, ooh, I don't want to cut them off, they're into it, you know, this might be important. But there's a point, especially when you're doing a one-shot, where you're like, hey, I love that you're getting into this character and you're haggling with this shopkeep, but we got a 5-hour whatever time frame here, we need to keep this moving. Whatever, take the 10 copper pieces or whatever bullshit. Or, hey, this is something your character can potentially do later off screen. We're not going to deal with this right now. It doesn't matter. We're playing a one-shot. I remember DM asking me and my sister what we were doing while that happened, but we both just said we were ready to go get on with the plot. But after that, I had checked out. I was sitting at my computer in complete silence. I remember telling my sister about this later, and I think she was having the same problem. I fell asleep a few times. I was doing that head bob thing, but trying really hard not to. I was waiting for DM to move things along, and because I'm not the kind of person that will do other things when it's not my turn, I was listening. You might be wondering why I wasn't participating in any of this, or why I was just waiting on DM. Well, at the beginning of our game, I had tried to engage in some roleplay with the other PCs. My sister tried, my friend tried as well, but I don't recall if DM's friend had tried. And anytime there was a perceived by the DM too long of a silence, the DM jumped in to narrate and move things along. I understand that this was to keep from having too much dead air for the viewers as they were just staring at a splash screen. At that time, it made sense to me, but given how the goblin arrows and the magic sword went, this was me making the blinking white guy meme just recalling this. I had hoped the DM would see how this wouldn't be entertaining to their viewers. They clearly did not. Also, this is not how they normally DM'd. Okay, so this might just be me, but if I'm going to be streaming a game, I would just DM as normal. Wouldn't change a damn thing. My focus would be on running the game. People watching get to do just that. They watch. I wouldn't be concerned with dead air or whatever, because I feel like if you put on a good D&D game, it would just be entertaining to watch. This really is an issue of the DM not keeping things moving, and when they were keeping things moving, they were really just spinning their wheels to fill dead air and nothing was moving forward. When you are running a one-shot, because you are generally time limited, you need to make sure to keep things moving and push your players towards the end goal of the one-shot. Also, I would really recommend not running an 8-hour one shot, especially if you're not gonna have breaks or anything like that, because holy crap, that is a long time to play a one shot. When I do one shots, it's 4 to 5 hours tops. You get in, have fun, get the fuck out. Eventually the game ended after a battle with cultists. We saved the day or the girl, I really don't remember. I thank DM for the game because I am not ungrateful for the work they did, but I never told them how I felt about it. I didn't even ask how their followers liked it. DM never brought it up again either. That's my story, the worst D&D game I ever played in. If anyone out there remembers this and experienced it, I am sorry. Okay, so the DM probably knew it was a disaster. You can usually feel it when you're fucking up. It happens. I have fucked up one shots. The last one I really remember fucking up was a very puzzle heavy one where the party ends up waking up in a bunker and they're trying to piece things together. The one shot that I had run and had been written by somebody else online had a fight with a dragon early on, and it was there to help the party kind of know that and feel that these characters were tough badasses. One of the big things I messed up was not keeping my players on track. So they had, initially when we were setting it up, you're ambushing a dragon, and they spent 45 plus minutes discussing where to place an anti-dragon ballista when they were trying to set up the ambush for this damn dragon. Then that fight ended up taking way longer than necessary, and when it came time for them to wake up and explore the bunker, we really ran out of time because the initial fight to show that the party members were badass took a huge chunk of the session. On top of that, it was super puzzle heavy, which I don't always do with my players, and I feel like for one-shots, puzzles are a bad idea, just because usually for me, one-shots are like a filler. It's either, hey, everybody's not meeting this week, let's run something, or it's, hey, let's try a new system, let's run a one-shot in the system. So the whole point of the one-shot is to just have fun doing, slop stuff, oh, we're gonna go kill something, we're gonna do something wacky. Or it's, we need to learn what this system is so we can figure out if we like it or not. So I want to make it as bare bones and simple as possible, where it's hey, let's do this. Let's see what the system does for RP. Let's see what the system does for combat and whatnot. And let's go from there and see how we like it. And so I think choosing to do a one shot that was super puzzle heavy and was hey, you need to recall clues and take notes and because something in this room goes to another room and does something else, so you can figure out what's going on and why you all have amnesia kind of thing. I think it didn't help. And it kind of it was throwing everybody for a loop, on top of the fact that we were all rushing because the initial dragon fight had taken way too long. But at least at the end of the day, I'm happy that OP's worst experience was really just a really boring 8 hours and not dealing with super gross people or people bringing up disgusting topics or something like that. Hopefully their games after this one have been a lot better, and hopefully they're not awkwardly streaming to other people as well. Alrighty guys, that is gonna be it for me today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in those comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you are interested. You can also catch me on Twitch. Links are in the description, but I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye everybody.